This is a RIP video for Joel Schumacher. Trying to do this one, and future ones may be a little different. Tell me what you think. Now, you know him for Batman Forever and Batman and Robin, but let's go a bit into the man of who he was and some of the other works he did, more or less, I want to talk about. So, he did DC Cab. Now, when I was younger, I actually really enjoyed this movie. And the reason being, well, for me, even though I found out he's not the star, but he was the star to me, it had Mr. T, Paul Rodriguez. He was an old comedian throughout the 80s, 90s, and stuff. Very good guy. One of the first Latino comedians I ever seen. um, it had Whitman Mayo, who actually's been in a couple of movies and things that Joel Schumacher did, but a legendary black actor. Gloria Gifford was in it. Pre-accident, crazy Gary Busey. Um, Max Gale, Adam Baldwin, the one from Firefly. If you're trying to figure out which Baldwin. Um, he was like a director, writer. He did a story on this. He also wrote the screenplay for Phantom of the Opera 2004, which for a lot of people was the introduction to Phantom of the Opera around my age group. Besides the older ones, St. Elmo's Fire, Car Wash, which was a film that was very influential in the black community. He also did the screenplay to The Wiz, the original Sparkle. Now, the original Sparkle also had Philip Michael Thomas in it. That's the reason why I watched it when I was younger, because I loved Miami Vice. Irene Cara was Sparkle. Loretta McKee was Sister. And Dwan Smith was Dolores. As a producer, he also produced 8mm. He produced the movie Flawless, The Babysitter, that was a big standout role for Alicia Silverstone, which he works with her later. 8mm was also one of the landmark movies to Nicolas Cage. As a director, he did 2 episodes of House of Cards. He did the movie Trespass, which I actually thought was a good movie that also had Nicolas Cage. He did the number 23 that I personally thought was incredible. I know a lot of people had issues with it. I don't care. Rewatch it. Watch it with a new pair of eyes and not just, oh, Jim Carrey's doing a serious movie. Look at the cinematography. Look at the way it was cut. Look at the way it was and how the story played itself into itself with the mystery. I thought it was great, and I thought how he handled it was amazing. He also directed The Phantom of the Opera, as well as wrote the screenplay. He wrote Bad Company, which I actually thought was a good movie that I don't think everybody remembers, that had Anthony Hopkins and Chris Rock in it. Phone Booth, which was a really cool film, different from like a lot of other films. Very intriguing movie. 8mm, he also directed, which is a wild movie in itself. Flawless. He also directed A Time to Kill. One of the best movies ever made. A standout performance by everyone. I actually watched that movie recently the other day. The Client, fantastic movie. Falling Down, which the Foo Fighters made a video learning to walk again based around falling down. That movie, when I was younger, especially like in the 90s, and I was upset about a lot of things and I felt like life was beating me down, I actually really related to that movie in the sense of anger and pain and stuff. And I just think that movie was just deep. It's actually one of my favorite films ever. Not the whole, what he did, but just that just couldn't take it anymore kind of thing. And as you find out as it went, great movie. Maybe one day I'll review it. Flatliners, the original one, which was a landmark movie for the 80s, as many people know. And they remade it, but Lost Boys, yeah, that's right. One of the greatest vampire films of all time. Still stands the test of time to this day. St. Elmo's Fire, Of course, DC Cab, Incredible Shrinking Woman, and a few others. I'm not going through everything. I'm just naming a few so you get a idea of what this man did, and also maybe go back and watch these films because I think a lot of people only ever focus on his Batman movies and don't think about actually how much this guy contributed to some landmark, powerful films that actually kind of changed the course of history, which now we are going to get into Batman Forever and Batman and Robin, which did change superhero films and not all negatively as people may think. For one, let's get something straight. Out of the original Batman universe, I will argue with anyone about this. Batman Forever was the best one out of all of them. Deal with it. I know, and I love Batman 89. I thought Batman Returns was pretty cool too. But Batman Forever. The reason being, let's talk about it from the stance of my personal that may lead into it. For one, I always thought, even as a kid, and like I said, I actually love Batman 89 and Batman Returns. I thought Bruce Wayne was too dark. When I was reading the comics and stuff, to me, Bruce Wayne was too dark. It wasn't terrible for what they were going for in the movie. I actually thought it worked great, but he was too dark. And, but I thought, still, by the way, my favorite Joker ever to this day is Jack Nicholson's. He's the darkest Joker. One day I may, if I remember to, do every single Joker that we've seen to date and explain to you why he's the darkest Joker to this day. And I don't think they'll ever make a Joker darker than him, the way society is right now, unless society changes again. But in Batman Forever, a lot of people are probably wondering how. Batman Forever is actually a dark film. But what they did was, it was a movie that they were able to make bombastic, had huge amounts of promotion. One of the first superhero films that, or at least the first superhero film I could think of where the actor actually did some of his own stunts. It had a presentation with, it was able to be a cool adventure, but I know some people are like, oh, Riddler was kind of hokey because it went back to the 60s a little bit. I'm like, yeah, but Two-Face, and yeah, I was still a little thrown when it was Tommy Lee Jones over Billy Dee Williams, but, you know, neither here nor there. It's not the conversation right now. What they did with Two-Face and for what he did, yeah, it was brighter. They wanted it to be a tone that could bring in a younger audience too. But yet, Two-Face wholesale took out people left and right like it was nothing, did not care about his henchmen. That to me is also when you saw Batman have some of the more crazier Batman kind of gadgets. The awesome scene when he went up the wall and they were coming at him. Gotham was actually changing because of Batman's presence, and I thought that was very interesting. As well as Val Kilmer did a very good Bruce Wayne, and he actually did a pretty fine job as Batman. I think Michael Keaton was a little better at the Batman portion. He just could convey that darkness. But you also saw as throughout the film, this version of Batman, he actually started dealing with the trauma. And a lot of people I don't think about that for Forever. There was actually a talk, and it's one of the first films I can ever think of as a kid that I watched, that someone was actually dealing with trauma and showing how the past can define your future. Like, I personally don't think people realize. Go back and really pay attention to that movie on what kind of levels it hit. Bruce was being stuck. While he's being Batman, he's going through stuff. And then it introduces Robin, who, between Robin and his love interest at the time, they kind of help him break through. To the point that Batman doesn't kill all his villains. And he doesn't fail to save one. He usually goes for the kill in the first couple movies. This one, he he was stuck between a rock and a hard place. Also, I love Dick Grayson as Robin, and they came out with the cool classic Robin suit, but it was all updated, and I thought that was great. And the way they did that, and how he had to do the thing, but as I was saying, but he got to the Riddler and was able to actually not take out both his villains. This movie is the first superhero film to have a bombastic song. And if you don't think it was, Kiss from a Rose. Kiss from a rose on a grave. Ooh, I can kiss a rose on a grave. Now that I said that and I wasn't singing, just singing it long enough, I bet you the song is now playing in your head. Joel Schumacher also directed that video. Then you come to Batman and Robin. Now, going back and watching that film, you can have fun with that film because I will tease that film to high heaven. There ain't too many movies you see Arnold Schwarzenegger doing ice quips. Alright, let's kick some ice. And the overacting and the craziness of Poison Ivy. So many people to kill. Like, still the best depiction of Bane. Deal with it. In live action. Deal with it. That movie also proved that studios meddling, because that wasn't fully his fault. Like I said, one day I may need to do the original Batman films because I have so much to say about Batman and Robin that's just bad. It did actually take down the superhero franchises for a bit, even though the only major one there was Batman. But Batman Forever was actually huge. They did a big production, did a big budget. Other Batman toys sold, but not like Batman Forever, like from what I've seen. Batman Forever was extremely influential, and it was a great balance between the dark and the light, enough to convey. And because they learned from the past, now here's the mistake they made in the future. When they did Batman and Robin, the best part of the movie was Robin. Everything else was ridiculous, and Alfred's always awesome, but everything else was ridiculous. You had like George Clooney smiling at the death of Alfred, and I would never get over that. I remember that as a kid, but we're not talking about that right now. That movie, though, proved that when studios meddle in things they don't work on, they are bad. And Joel Schumacher, through all of his glorious works, had to apologize for that movie forever. And I think that's just really sad that he had to, because that wasn't his fault. The studio came in and wanted it to be more 60s Batman, more comedy, more kid-friendly, and more. And Warner Brothers, it took them a long time, as we've seen, to kind of learn to maybe not mess with things and let the directors work on their job. But because of it, there's also a lot of lessons that was learned. And I don't think we would have gotten the Spider-Man movies, the X-Men movies, even Blade, to the degree that we got without those Batman films. And I'm talking about his ones and the previous ones, of course. Superman too, but these Batman films were different. They were modernized. You saw that they saw with Batman Forever, you can take a film further. You can, it doesn't have to be one way. You can actually take it in a different direction and it can still work if it's done correctly. And if the studio goes too far in or too corporate, how it could fall. There's a lot of lessons to be learned from Batman and Robin. We were supposed to get spin-off movies. I think we were supposed to get a Nightwing movie. That's why his suit in Batman and Robin, that cool suit, had the Nightwing symbol on it. A lot of people don't realize that. And it was the red one. That's why I wasn't mad in the comics when they changed it to red. I was like, yeah, that reminds me of the Batman Forever one where Nightwing was going to have a red suit, and he was going to take off the cape, and that was going to be his Nightwing suit with a couple of adjustments. I know people go, oh, bat nipples and everything. Yeah. That was partly him, that was partly the studio, but there's a lot of lessons that I've seen of people working on future films that actually talk about it, and the movie goes down in infamy. But if you go back and watch it, I guarantee you'll have a smile on your face because of how ridiculous the movie is. It has some cool action scenes, I'm not gonna lie. It has some high points, mostly low, but it did have some high points. But it did, however, the directing was really still top notch in it, There was some crazy mistakes in it though too, like the shaky ice. But the plot was a very bombastic plot. There was a lot of things in it that I was like, okay, the villain thing wasn't, and when the way he directed it was good. So yeah, there's a lot of lessons, and it did change the comic book movie industry. I personally think for the better. They learned a lot of studios learned from those films, and they've admitted it, as well as sometimes what not to do, and sometimes studios have to. They're trying to find that balance. So he's done a lot for the industry, and if you don't believe me, just go back watch Lost Boys if you never have. It still holds up. Falling Down, Flatliners, A Time to Kill. These films, Car Wash, even just a lot of these movies are just straight on classics that really stand the test of time and really show you things in different ways and influential. So Joel Schumacher, I want you to have a safe journey. Thank you for all the awesome memories. Thank you for um, doing films. So a couple of them I didn't even know that actually helped me through some rough times. Admittedly, you'll be missed. This Geek Protagonist. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay real, and I'll see you. Hey, thank you for visiting my channel. This is the Geek Protagonist. Please like, comment, subscribe, and share. Please, it'll really help me out in the channel if you actually share these videos. If you like what I'm doing, please hit that bell notification. Hit it, click. This way you won't miss any of my videos. Also, there's a thing on there that says personal and all. Hit the all. This way you'll get them every time for the notifications. I'm trying to, grow, trying to do commentary about what's going on. And I want to thank you again. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay real. This is the Geek Protagonist. I'm out, and I'll see you.